It's Friday. It's been another week. There's quite a few things happening on Kickstarter. We've got the Ennies as well, which I forgot to put in the intro, but who cares? So let's get on with it, shall we? We've got, what do we see? MOTU, Masters of the Universe, Fields of Eternia, Mausritter, Kinless. So yeah, if you're a big fan of Kickstarters, hit us up with a like and a subscribe, because we're trying to do something like this every week. If you're a big fan of role-playing, then please, give us a share, tell your friends about us. But most importantly, I think we need to realize that with Devious Dungeons, Foreboding Forests, and the Coolest Cats, it is time for the Dark Orb Kickstart your weekend. Here we go. And today, this evening, this afternoon, depends where you are, I've got a couple of fantastic friends. We have Martin and Joel.
Hi.
You may recognize these two wonderful gentlemen from the live stream we did last week. Was it Cogs, Cakes, and Sword Sticks? Cakes, Cogs, and Sword... I don't know. It's been a whole week. Anyone remember?
Cogs, Cakes, and Sword Sticks.
Right, first time.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I really hope that we can get Stu back on for another episode of that. And it was something else.
Yep.
Gentlemen, how has your week been?
It's been quite hectic, even though I'm on vacation. A lot of things to finish up before work starts and things get back to normal.
I understand actually over in Sweden, which is where you are, that it is quite normal to have an extended summer vacation. In the UK, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's frowned upon, but it's unusual to take more than a week at a time. I think you've got it a little bit more relaxed over there. We know full well that Sweden's got the happiest workforce in the world, pretty much. So,
You agree, Martin?
Yeah.
I mean,
how are you getting on with your high pressure job, Martin?
Yeah, my high pressure job. Well, yeah, it doesn't really exist at the minute. I'm just kind of studying. But when I did work, which wasn't that long ago,
back in the 80s.
Yeah, I think that Swedes, don't realize sometimes quite how much easier they have it than in the UK. Because talking to Swedes, sometimes they can complain a bit about their work. And I'm like, but you get all this holiday and like all this time off with kids, and it's like
you get forced to have a coffee break with cake, right? Fika.
I know, right? It's like, it's fika time. Okay, that's for Murta. Time for the meeting. It's like, no, you know what? It's great. I love it here. It's one of the reasons we moved here, because we've got a family.
You live in Sweden as well, right?
Yes, yeah, down in the south, in the middle of nowhere.
I know it sounds like he's from the northern UK, and he is, but
yes,
that's not what you mean.
Yeah, no, yes, yeah. Dual national. So I am both British and Swedish.
Well, I got to just say hi, shout out to Sandra Tokagi, and our friend Andy says, do Swedes actually work? Now, before you respond to that, I would like to just check, is that a functional work? Or is this like asking if Swedes function?
Do they work?
Yeah, exactly. What is work?
Yeah. Yeah, debatable. Yeah, I don't know. Yes, Swedes work very hard. But you know what? What I found since I've been living here, Swedes work effectively.
Yeah.
Very much so in the workplace. It's like things sometimes take half the time they would in the UK because there isn't as much faffing.
There isn't as much time to do, and certainly I've worked long enough in enough different roles to know that having more hours in a week doesn't make you more effective and more productive, because by and large, if you're a professional, unless you're actually having to work every single hour of every single day, which of course realistically, with some exceptions, some people have to do that. But in your general office job, for example, the amount of work you can actually produce in a given week is probably the same, whether it's a 35-hour or a 45-hour week, because we've got a finite capacity. Yeah, Andy's saying, do they malfunction?
On occasion, just like Brits.
Yeah, that's one thing we're definitely good at in the UK is malfunction.
I mean, what I've found since I moved here is people are people, no matter where from where you go. You know, we're the same. People are both good and bad at their jobs in Sweden, just like they were in the UK. That hasn't changed. So.
Hi Neil, good to see you. Hopefully you'll be featuring on the stream very soon. We miss you, but I can't believe that you're not here.
He has to put up with us tonight. From the highs of award-winning EC Gaska and people running successful Kickstarters to Martin and Joel from Sweden.
To two of my favorite people in the hobby. And
there you go.
I do
that
have many
nice.
favorite people in the hobby, though. So, you know, there's a very large selection criteria of people in the hobby. So you're in the top 49th percentile.
Nice. Nice. Good save there, Phil. I'm feeling good about tonight.
No, seriously, I'm super pleased that you're both here. Where do we want to start? I mean, I'll tell you where we should start. We should actually start by talking about some of the Kickstarters that are going to end in the next 7 days. And I'm just going to very quickly run through what I've got on my list. And actually, there's only one Kickstarter on my list that is going to end in the next 7 days. So let's very quickly talk about that. And then we can move on and maybe talk a little bit about the Ennies. And then new Kickstarters that are currently funding. We should also talk about any Kickstarters or any Kickstarter related things that have arrived. So if either of you have got anything that arrived in the last couple of weeks that you want to show off, let's do that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's start off. I will fight mercilessly with my machine. And let's have a look at, being as our very good friend Neil has waved in the chat. Let's talk about the Starfarer dice. There's only 7 days left on them. And I don't know about either of you, but I've backed them out of my own pocket because we don't have any freebies really at all on this channel. And I really like them. There's been quite a few different options. Actually, tell us in the comments which of these, the dice that are in this set, are your favorites. I can tell you which are my favorites, but let's just run through them. So we've got Mothership, grey blue, white swirls, silver numbering, Polaris, clear, transparent with dark blue swirls, Red Dwarf, which is just awesome, Quasar, dark green, white swirls, green numbers. I'm not going to read out all the colors on all of them. Sirius, Andromeda, Cyborg, then Hyperspace is still locked, Parsec is still locked, Photon is still locked, Singularity is I'm really surprised that this is still locked actually. And Wormhole again, I'm quite surprised about this one being locked as well. And then some add-ons. There's also this this coin. Now I've got the coin from the last Kickstarter campaign. Thank you, Neil. And if I was any sort of decent host, I'd be able to hold that up and actually put it on another camera and show you what it looks like. But I'm slightly useless and I'm not entirely sure where it is. We picked that up at Games Expo. I will rack my brains trying to think. It's probably in the bag, to be fair with you.
I'm sure it was lovely though, wasn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely awesome. It's got a dragon and everything.
Okay.
But you're just not worthy. But
they're close. Awesome. They're close to unlocking the next one as well, aren't they? 7,200, I think, is the next unlock, and currently it's at 7,132.
Ooh.
So that's the Sirius that's going to unlock.
Yeah, and the Sirius is my second favorite. I know it's my partner's favorite. I actually really like the Polaris dice.
Red
I like
Dwarf
them a
for
lot.
me. That
Red Dwarf.
just I've backed. I'm gonna get 3 sets. There's gonna be 3 sets of Red Dwarf for my girls. They love dice. They've got their own little Studio Ghibli dice bags.
Oh no.
And they they love just collecting them when they're not using them to play. So 3 sets of Red Dwarf. That's what's coming my way.
So you're getting 3 sets of Red Dwarf dice.
I certainly am.
Yoel, which is your favorite color combination?
Of these, I would probably go with the Red Dwarf. I
Very popular, I
haven't
think.
backed this one,
Yeah.
and that is not because they don't look excellent, but I just got a huge shipment from another Kickstarter with way more dice than I should probably have bought. So I need to hold off for a while, at least.
You know, if you actually want to go in on this, you could always tell me how many sets you want, and I could order them, and then we'd probably save on shipping there. I could send them to you.
You know, I'm the one supposed to be the shoulder devil.
Yeah, I'm switching it around now.
Ah, damn you. We're probably gonna end up doing something like that then.
Just let me know.
You're very welcome, my friend, Mr. Neil. You're very welcome. So yeah, let us know in the comments which are your favorite colors on here. Which is your favorite set? So we've pushed for the Sirius dice. Hopefully they'll unlock it. Looks like that's very likely. The pledge has gone up already by another 8. I think it's pretty likely that Sirius is going to be there. We backed for 2 sets of dice, and
okay.
I'm looking forward to them landing.
Mm.
Yeah. So, what have people had come in the mail? Anything?
Basically, I said I just got some dice.
Mm.
I got lots and lots of dice from Lindorm Dice.
Oh, lovely.
So let's see.
He's off.
Sanjiro says the Hyperspace and the Red Dwarf. Yeah, they're just so good, aren't they? And I think Red Dwarf are probably some dice that look much better in different lighting. I can imagine there's quite a lot of hidden detail. I do know that on the Paladin Rice on a Paladin Rice cookery page on the Paladin Dice Facebook and Instagram pages, there are more photographs in a different light that really kind of show off the details really nicely. So it's definitely worth having a look at that. There are, however, I need to warn you, there are absolutely no photos to date of Rice, which is unacceptable. Dear me,
It's been a long week, hasn't it, Phil?
It's been a very long week, a very, very long week. But you know, I'm so pleased to be here.
Show us your stuff, Johan.
Yeah. Got a dice container.
Hang on, let me make you bigger, yo.
Is that possible? Yeah, huge. So 1 dice barrel for storage.
I really like that. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
And a scroll that also lets you store dice and flips out the dice tray.
Oh, that's nice. It's kind of similar to the all rolled up, but maybe differently practical.
Might be.
Yeah, is this the old rolled up ones, like the ones that you get? Oh, dropped a dice. Like the
Yes, yeah, and they also do the. Let me see if I can do something similar without dropping everything on the floor. It is very unlikely that I'm not going to drop things on the floor here. But for example, and if I just do this very quickly, we'll come back to you, Yoel, I promise.
No problem.
So let's adjust the camera. So this is my all rolled up, and basically in here, I normally have some cards in here. At the moment, all I have is some glasses cleaning wipes. pens, and then dice.
Nice.
So that is 2 sets of DCC dice, 1 other poly set, and then a bag of D10s for when I'm playing the Spire, or Spire rather, with wonderful Neil as GM. I'd love to get that on the show at some point, but we haven't played for a while, so I wouldn't want to put him under too much pressure.
No,
Neil,
I would love to see
run the
that. I'm a
Spire.
big fan. I'm a big fan of Rowan Rook and Deckard's games. So I would love to see that.
So pretty. Hey Bruce, good to see you. We have now 2 Bruces watching, so this is the first. More 75. Yeah, Mothership. I'd love to see Mothership on the show. If anyone fancies running that.
Isn't Andy into Mothership?
Andy is into Mothership.
Yeah, so I've seen him talk about it a lot on the Discord.
It could be D10s for Mothership. Yes, that as well. It's been so long since we played it. Hoping to get a game in soon and get one on the show. So yeah. Anyway. D10s. And Andy says, I am indeed. Lots of activity tonight. Yo, where were we?
Yeah, a dice pouch.
Ooh.
And then I think I ordered 6 or 7 sets of dice. Yeah, I see your face, Phil. Now you perhaps understand why I couldn't really bring myself to back the other die at the moment when these just arrived.
Are you trying to compete with Neil, maybe? Is that what this is? Are you hoping
I'm just that order. And all the sets arrived in these little pouches.
Lovely.
I didn't know they would, so that was a pleasant surprise. I think these are the die set called Troll. Green. All of them are Norse mythology themed, as Lindholm dice tend to do.
Yeah.
So, and they have Fenrir. I have no idea what I brought forward here. Let's see what's in this pouch. Oh, I think these were the Freya ones. Purple, also pink and white and things.
Cool.
And I think all of these dice are available at their web shop at the moment. Maybe.
Very cool. So yeah, once you've spent lots of money on Paladin role-playing's Starfarer campaign, which I will just remind everyone is this: once you've spent all your money there, and presuming that you're not saving up for any other upcoming dice Kickstarters, check out Lindorn Dice as a close second.
Yeah, I'm gonna
they are
order
excellent,
using.
By the way, I'm just being.
Yeah, I'm gonna order from the Starfire one using Martin. So I'm gonna buy more dice.
Yeah, there you go.
We're going to use Martin. I approve of that.
Yeah, I don't disapprove.
Martin, have you got anything to show us?
You know what? I probably have. I do, but I don't have it all on me. I have a couple of things on me, but the Old School Essentials Kickstarter fulfilled recently, and I got a big load of stuff from them because I went all in on that one. Really fantastic production values. Really knocked it out of the park. I've only actually got one of the adventure books here, and that's because we're going to be talking about something later on that references this. So I've brought it with me. All my books are upstairs, but this is one of the adventures. It's Halls of the Blood King.
Wonderful!
Which is by Diogo Nogueira. Yeah, and he has just picked up an Emmy nomination for this.
That's great. I've got Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells, which actually so we played. Let me see if I can get this right. It was I'm trying to remember all the details of it, but basically we played it at the Owlbear and Wizard Stuff convention. Yes, Bruce has reminded me. It's a Middlelands setting game by our friend Neil Benson. And he ran that in Sharp Swords and Sinister Spells, and it was great. Lovely system. It's got some dice chain stuff going on, which I really love. Loved it so much that I bought it, and it's sat on the shelf.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really good. And yeah, Diogo's does amazing things. He also has done Cosmic Blades, and something else.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
He's fantastic. And this,
Polar
I've
players. Or
I've read through this Halls of the Blood King, and I feel like it's very deserving of its nomination. It's an excellent old school adventure. It's got some nice cartography in it, but his hooks and like the kind of random happenings and everything like that that's going on in there. It's the kind of adventure where you read it and your brain just starts to turn straight away, thinking of what you can run the players through. So yeah, very good. So old school essentials that came in, loads of books, really nice looking stuff. And I also got this come through, Knock issue 2.
Yeah.
Which I backed the first one as well. I'm on a bit of an OSR kick at the minute, which is interesting because I don't have the nostalgia for it because I was never into role-playing games when, I'm old enough, but I wasn't into role-playing games so much back then. So, but for me, it's just really interesting kind of reading through these old school games, and the adventures really, that's what really kind of pulls me in. The style of writing, it's so different to this kind of modern 5e style of adventuring. I really like it.
Totally. I completely agree with you. I haven't actually looked at old school essentials, not because I'm against it. I think it looks wonderful, but just because we quite heavily invested in Dungeon Crawl Classics, which I absolutely adore. I've never run it. I've played it quite a lot. In fact, we've got a home game happening tomorrow, which unfortunately won't be streamed. I am hoping to have an episode on the show, though, very, very soon. So if you're a fan of OSR, things like Dungeon Crawl Classics, then like and subscribe, etc. We're going to have something on for Dungeon Crawl Classics very soon. But in terms of actual proper OSR, I guess the most I've done really is more towards the kind of Murkbori kind of end, which is a little different.
It has the vibe, but it doesn't have the kind of same kind of system qualities, does it? It's got that. But
old school essentials, something that I've looked at every time there's been a campaign, and I've just, because I'm a completionist, I've avoided it. That's the best way for me to put it.
Yeah,
because I
went all in. So
exactly, but let me put this into context. Some of you know that we're moving house. We've been packing. We haven't got a move date or anything like that yet, but we're being proactive. I've now put 7 crates of RPG books into storage. Now, these aren't the same shelves. The same shelves. The things behind me are not all the same as was here last week or the week before. You can actually kind of look over the last 3-4 weeks and see those books change over time. But I'm just trying to keep as much in the background as possible so that it actually doesn't look like bare empty shelves. I don't want to resort to a green screen, although I do have a photograph of this and I could do that. It just would be a bit strange. And there's only so many hours in the gaming lifespan. So our friend Dave from the Effect podcast, great guys, you should check them out, did a rather morbid calculation of how many gaming hours are left in your lifetime based on practicality, and it's like,
don't share that with me. I don't want to know.
You don't want the algorithm for it?
No.
I think Andy will probably find it now.
No, but you can also see it from a different perspective. Yeah, of course, you're not going to run everything your own. I'm the same as you. I am way more than I'm going to play. But if you read it, you pick up bits and pieces and use them when you play.
No,
inspiration.
Yes.
I don't do reading. As I said before, these books behind me are like the inverse of pornography. I get them for the pictures and not for the articles within.
I feel that as well, to be honest. Sometimes I buy things just for the way they look, and then I'm pleasantly surprised when I read them. Other times not so much. But
so I've only had one thing that's arrived, Let me just go back to this. I've only had one thing that's arrived in the last couple of weeks, or certainly in the last week, and that's this, which is for Mercury. So if I do transition, there we go. So I haven't actually had a good look through this, and it's like a scenario campaign for a scenario for Mercury. I'm not going to go through it in detail because basically I don't want to spoil it. But let's see if I can get a decent angle on it so that we don't have too much reflection. And I'll just go through what we have here. The style is just lovely.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that?
Who's that by, Phil?
That is by Storywood.
Okay. It's good. There's so much good stuff out come under there. The Mercury license.
Yeah. And it's amazing that they basically just said, you know what? It's kind of open. Do what you want. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that most of them kind of look like they were official products from the same manufacturer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Johan Nord has been like a very good sport in that regard. I mean, he's like created this look for these things, and then he said, go wild with it.
Yeah, go wild. Here's the style guide that I've used. Here are the principles I use, but do your own thing.
Exactly. And I mean, that's how you build a niche for yourself.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And there was a really interesting article with him and Pelle Nilsson about the kind of the ethos behind making the original game. And one thing they said was, we absolutely knew that we weren't going to make a profit on this, and every single penny that we got from the Kickstarter we put into making the book better.
Was that the one in Weird Science? Because I know
I've got no idea.
I know they did an article in Weird Science which was really interesting. And that's another good one that I'm waiting on a Kickstarter.
Yeah. Should we talk about the Ennies?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this to you before because I literally logged onto Twitter and I saw loads of people that I follow going, "Holy shit, I've been nominated!" So I thought it was something that we could have a chinwag about.
Yeah, let's do it. I do not have in front of me any of the information about the nominations.
Right,
so we could
bear with me. I got it. Friend of the show who was on last week, EC
Andrew E.C. Gasker.
Indeed, has been nominated for Best Adventure with Alien RPG Destroyer of Worlds.
That's never going to win. That's not going to win any awards. One at UK Games Expo, if I recall
in that same category.
Oh,
yeah. And that's Diogo Nogueira. As the author has been nominated. Stockholm Cartel Occult Mästare Games have been nominated for Best Aid/Accessory Digital with Dungeon, which is the one that you can kind of go on and create your own dungeon.
Yeah, Dungeon.
I know
the one.
Yeah,
I haven't used it.
Yeah, stop laughing, Johan.
Which bit are you laughing at? That's what I want to know.
Probably all of it.
Joel is being a pronunciation.
Well, I mean, that's not in Swedish. That's just
it's not.
No.
Yeah,
just you making a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot on there that I like. Cortex has been nominated, which I'm a big fan of. I really like anything that Cam Banks does, who's like the lead designer on Cortex. I love the old Marvel heroic role playing, and he's kind of taken Cortex to the next level, I think, now. So they've been nominated for Best Game, along with another of my favorites, Heart, the City Beneath, Rowan, Rook and Deckard.
Yes. Yes.
Someone who I bought the game of, and I like, this is the one that I saw on Twitter, and I think he said holy shit on Twitter. Spencer Campbell for Slayers, which is quite a small game, just like, almost kind of pamphlet sized, really nice mechanics. It's each class has different mechanics, so they vary. It's a very interesting game mechanically. Lots of open space to kind of play in, make your own stories in. Spencer Campbell Slayers. He seemed a bit surprised when he saw he'd been nominated. Who else? There's loads. Sentinel Comics, if you're into supers, that's been making a lot of noise.
That one, hasn't it?
Yeah. And there's also some in there from Games Omnivorous, who we are planning to talk about with the Mausritter Kickstarter. So maybe we could segue into that.
Seems like a good segue indeed. Get on your segues. So if we I'm just going to switch over here to putting that up. Here we go. So Mausritter. I have backed this. I love the style of it, but I have a feeling that Martin may have read it in much more detail than I have, if I'm honest. So it says first created. That's kind of not. That doesn't mean it's a new product, which is quite exciting. Yeah,
do you want me to start, Phil?
Yeah, go for it. Okay. You sound like you have something to contribute.
Yeah, Mausritter is a game that since I got it for a minuscule price in the bundle for racial justice and equality on itch.
Yeah.
And I kind of trawled through all the RPGs that were included in that. Some really good RPGs, and Mausritter was one of them. And since I first looked at it, I just fell in love with it. If you like games where they kind of model things like the borrowers, the rescuers, Mouse Guard, Mice and Mystics, anything like that.
Mice and Mystics is so much fun.
Exactly. Anything like that, where you play like small creatures or small whatever in a world where everything is so big, everything's fantastical. Mausritter is fantastic, but it's also kind of married with this OSR vibe, and it's got a lovely little mechanic in it where your inventories are kind of a physical thing. So you place like tokens on your inventory to fill them up. It's actually a hack of Into the Odd.
That's interesting.
But it's got at the beginning of the PDF for it that I got through that bundle, Isaac Williams, the creator, actually lists all of his inspirations from games that he took mechanics from, and then also inspirations from media, so things like Mouse Guard. So he's got a lot in there, and it's great. And he's partnered with Games Omnivorous. They did the original box set, and now they're doing a new box set, which is going to have new artwork. They're going to kind of go back and fix some of the typos. The original box set sold out because everybody wanted it. Basically, I never got my hands on it.
Good.
Yeah, it is. It's good. It's great. And it's easy to play. It's got that tactile thing with the inventory, and the fact that you can kind of lay the little, you can see there in that picture that Phil's got up, like those little kind of square tokens that are next to the paper. Those are the things that you put into the inventory spaces. So it's got a little bit of inventory management. It's got a lot of nice things. You can play as adults, but you can play with your kids too. And Games Omnivorous are a company that have been doing very interesting things in the last few years in TTRPGs. They've picked up some nominations in the Ennies as well for this. I came prepared, Phil. I
better make you bigger then, huh?
Yeah, make me bigger. Make me grow, Phil. Undying Sands.
Great, you got a bag of sand. Congratulations.
Yeah. Undying
Sands. It's not even rice, is it?
It's not, unfortunately. It's not Paladin rice.
Unacceptable.
And basically, with this, it's a hex crawl adventure, right?
Yeah.
So you get like these punch out hex cards, which have really cool artwork on them. Each of those is tied to a trifold GM screen like this, which has a description of each of the things.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's system agnostic, or you can just play it by itself. It has enough kind of rules in there that you could just do a little adventure with your kids, or even with grown-ups if you wanted to. Comes with a little map handout for 2 of the areas on there as well. And it's just a really, really well put together product. They've been doing a lot of OSR stuff, Games Omnivorous. They work together with Merkboy on Putrescence Regnant, which is an LP.
Yeah,
which
they've just released some of the artwork for some files about the production. Vinyl.
And that came about because of Death Robot Jungle, which was their first LP that they released. They're doing really interesting things, and I think they're definitely a name to watch. And Mausritter looks like it's going to continue that with this. So I would recommend people back it if they want to play as small creatures or they have kids.
So that brings me to the question, which I'll throw open to our viewers, whether you're live or just coming back. Which is your favorite RPG or tabletop game where you get to play as small creatures? I really like Mice and Mystics. I haven't actually played a role-playing game where we've gotten to do that, but I have backed Mausritter, and I'm very excited about that. Do either of you have a particular favorite from what you've played so far or run?
To be honest, I haven't played or ran a game where I specifically play small creatures. The closest I've come is old school Toon.
Wow! Have I got that here? No, it's in storage. I have a copy of Toon. I still haven't got it to the table.
That's a weird one. It's fun, but it's weird and mad. But you don't specifically play small creatures, so
no.
You
play cartoon characters, right?
Yes. It could be Tweety Bird. Small character, sure, but no, yeah.
So what about you, Martin?
I think my favorite actually isn't an RPG. It's a board game, but it's very easy to fit RPG elements into, and that was Stuffed Fables that I played with my kids, which is another Jerry Hawthorne game, I think.
Same creator as Mice and Mystics.
Yeah. And that's lovely. It's got nice little miniatures. It really brings, the kids just kind of sit there playing with the minis, and then when you get into the game, it's in this kind of storybook format. It's really well designed. And
I've nearly bought that a few times.
It's really nice, and it's easy to inject RPG elements into it. When I played it with my girls, we were talking about the characters as well as what it was saying in the story, what they were doing, coming up with silly voices for them. It's really good. So I think I would actually put that at the top. Mausritter very close second, though.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, and very different things. I mean, we're talking about a board game and a role-playing game, so they're very different. Let's have a quick look at the pledge levels. They're pretty reasonable, if you ask me. So, $20 US, 11 Earth pounds gets you the adventures in PDF. Physical copy of the rulebook, £16. Wise Explorer, which is the adventure collection in PDF and in print. So if you already have the Mausritter rulebook, it's £32. Then we jump up to a whopping £40 for the box set with the rulebook, an adventure site, GM screen, character sheets. I love box sets. I really like it when they do that. Forbidden Lands is the one to beat, in my opinion, but it's a very different game, and they could do pretty well here. And then you've got the Expert Campaigner, which is the box set and the adventure collection.
Which is something that I forgot to mention when I was talking about it. The adventure collection is why I was talking about Diogo Nogueira, because he's actually writing one of the now 11 adventures that are in there.
That would be very cool.
Yes.
It really will be. And I think we can segue pretty well. So yeah, check it out. It's got a couple of weeks left on it, I think. Yeah, 2.5 weeks left on it. Definitely worth a look. We mentioned the game Merkborg, or Morkborg, as many people call it. And I actually really want to talk about Kinless. I really, really like the look of this. Now, Chris Williams is Explore Dungeons. If you look on Drive-Thru RPG, they've got quite a lot of really, really cool stuff. And it's all around, it's basically zines. There's at least one adventure that we've all had a look at that is really cool, called Rise of the Snake God, which is basically a great big campaign, if you like, for 5e, but it could obviously be translated into Pathfinder, or you can adjust it to something like Merkborg, something like that. What I really love, though, is looking through the most recent zine when they have... I'm trying to remember exactly. We might be able to grab the art for it. But yours going to laugh at me now, but it was like a Smorgasbord, which I thought was really, really... I'm just looking for the laughs here.
Yeah.
Biting my tongue.
Yes, good. Right. Someone give him an uppercut, quick. But basically, it's about from what I know from talking to Chris, the creator, we're looking at effectively some sort of situation where there's a Merkborg adventure based around like a Viking feast. And I think it's going to be amazing. That's coming next year, but there's some artwork in the zine 2 on Drive-Thru RPG that they've put out. That zine is called Explore Dungeons, zine number 2. They also created this, Kinless, which they're working on. It comes out next year, and it's a solo Viking Merkborg RPG adventure. And I'm just really taken by it. The picture might be a tiny bit misleading. There's not an app. They're just representing that there's a PDF that you can get. So there's a soft cover and a hard cover and a PDF. But yeah, the land is harsh and cold. Strange things prowl the woods. There are no second chances. Every choice can lead to your death. What I liked was the preamble up here. It's the story of a man forced to defend his family against a predatory ruler, only to be driven from his home, friends and family, left to die alone in the cold night. I'm an outcast, all alone. We know this is from Amarth, which is an amazing Swedish metal band. I'm a nomad without home. I'm an outlaw. I'm disowned, and I'm no man's son. And I just think that's a really interesting way to start off. It's clearly been inspired by that song and others, by that artist, among other things. And I just love the concept that is promised, which is of a Viking version of Merkborg. I think the idea is that you can either run it as a GM with one player, or you can actually run it just solo, so playing with yourself when no one's around. But I think it looks great. The pricing is great. so it's a MOTU game. The levels are interesting. $15 for PDF, $35 US for the soft cover, $55 for the hardcover. Now I'm going to kick myself. I have been kicking myself because they actually have an early bird as well. I backed this a couple of hours after the campaign launched, but somehow, because as Martin said earlier on, I've had a week. It's been a really strange, very long week. I managed to miss the early bird, which is $48. So I've paid full whack at the whopping $55. You know, how am I going to cope? $7. But they've also got some interesting stretch goals. A lot of them are like coming, so like extra encounters. There's going to be a t-shirt, I think, that's being added on. Yeah, I just love it. I think it's really, really interesting. 2D minis, so basically, you know, standees. I think it's going to be a really interesting project. There we go.
Yeah.
T-shirts. I'm definitely getting me a t-shirt, but I don't want this artwork and development one. That looks a bit stupid.
Yeah, those limited rewards look quite funny. $300 for the Fallen Warrior. Your likeness on a corpse in the book.
I know.
Nice.
If I was rich,
what you'd put someone else in there.
I can think of a few people that would actually be amazing to immortalize their corpse. That
would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I had money to throw away. I think those reward levels. I think those reward levels are okay. I mean, I think for a very long time with role-playing games, the prices have been quite static, and people that produce games have been quite undervalued, really, in how much work they put into them. So I'm kind of loath to ever look at a price of a hardcover unless it's really ridiculous, kind of call attention to it. I don't think that's bad. I've certainly seen higher prices.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we don't really know, which we'll have a look and see if there's any FAQs in here yet. There are a few, so we'll have a look at those in a second, is how many pages it is. That might be in there and I've just missed it. There's no, I've just done a quick search, there's no mention of the word page in there. The artwork implies that it's quite a thick book. In fact, it looks, I'll just share that out again, it looks like a traditional RPG book. But we don't really know. I mean, that, you know, if that's the same size, if that phone is to scale, then obviously that changes everything. We don't really know. That could be the
Do we know
Go on.
anything about how it would run?
No. So I've actually spoken to Chris. I'm hoping to get an interview with Chris in the next couple of weeks about the project, because I think it's really interesting. And he has intimated that he doesn't really want it to be like a choose your own adventure, which is interesting.
I saw that in the FAQ.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So I think that's really interesting. And maybe that'll be something, I mean, screw it. We could even, maybe in a year's time when it comes out, we'll do something on the show. Could be really fun.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good product. I've backed quite a few Kickstarters that have used Mixam print, and they've always been high quality. And this is using that. I've never been disappointed with that in terms of like kind of the vibrancy of the colors or, you know, the print, anything like that. So I think it's going to be a nice looking product. It's just maybe a little more clarity on quite how big a product it's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully Chris will see this video and maybe just update the FAQ with. I mean, it's hard to predict, isn't it? Until the full thing's written, you don't really know. But at least in terms of scale, I mean, is that going to be like a Murtbori book?
Yeah, which itself isn't that big. Yeah,
no, it's not. But you know, if there's how many pages are in this? Do we know? No, not off the top of my head. But I mean, I'd say probably 60 pages or something. $55 for that.
Yeah,
is a bit of a challenge, but it could be quite a few more. It could be 3 times the thickness of that. And of course, the thickness of this is misleading as well because it depends on how thick your paper is. So there are so many different variables.
I mean, in terms of role-playing games as well, more isn't always more. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can get a massive rule book with loads of text, and you can come away from it feeling let down.
Yeah. And likewise, it goes the other way. You can have a scenario which we all know this in this room. You can have a 1-page scenario that can take 2 or 3 sessions to complete, just because you never know how the content's going to fill out, and it depends on the party that you've got, for example, and on you as a GM. Now, if you're a GM running the game for yourself, it's probably a little bit different. But I'm interested to see how this pans out.
One thing I would point out with that is they're going to be using drive-through cards to print the cards. And I know from experience, I don't know if this has changed, but to Europe, that adds on a lot of shipping.
It really does, because they don't have a European fulfillment center. Yeah.
So that's something to bear in mind. But again, I don't know. It was quite a while since I last ordered cards from drive-through. I don't know if they've changed that now so that they do have a European fulfillment. But
and speaking of drive-through, have they EU fulfillment now, or is it UK based only, as it used to be?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's not for the book. They're not using it for the book.
No. I wasn't thinking about this product, but
just generally.
Yeah.
The last time I ordered it was, but it's been a while since I ordered a physical book from drive-through, so probably about 6 months.
And for me, of course, they all come in from the UK, but that's not a surprise.
Yeah, because I just ordered at cost from another Kickstarter, Svalbard. It's completed. Ooh. I got a PDF, but I haven't gotten a book yet, so I'm waiting my print and delivery of that one. And I'm a bit scared of the shipping and customs costs if they don't have a EU fulfillment at the moment.
Yeah, and of course now we're not in the customs union. That really helps.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the UK at the minute, though, because the EU changed their VAT regulations recently. I think it was the beginning of June or July. Other countries are also being hit with that. So it's a bit of a nightmare. International shipping has gone through the roof recently anyway. So
have they made any changes to printed media? Like, I know that books at one point was kind of excluded from VAT. I don't know if that's still the case and whether that's the case where you are.
It's a country by country basis.
Yeah,
if countries set their own VAT rules in terms of what the levels are. So I know in the UK books were 0. Were they at one point?
Yeah. I think they still are. I could be wrong.
They're not in Sweden.
Okay.
So
but you have all that extra time to read them, so we know that we have to profit, right?
Exactly. Okay, what's next on the docket, Phil?
Let's talk about something that our good friend Martin has asked to raise. Broken luck.
Broken luck. Yes. LUCK.
Yeah, I was going, I can't find this, Martin. I remember seeing it, but I can't find it anywhere. Broken luck.
Realized it was because of my awful dialect. Northern accent.
It's not awful, it's just different from mine.
Yeah, okay.
Bath.
Yes, Bath.
So two things. Firstly, I don't really know much about this campaign. Secondly, I know very little about Troika. I know how huge it is. I have an understanding vaguely of the product. I remember there being a whole load of ridiculous controversy over something menial, last year or beginning of this year or something. But let's
I don't know any of that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to go into it, but basically, it's along the lines of the controversy that we had over races in Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing.
Right. Okay. Well. Okay. Let's talk about this and people can make their minds up in their own time about whether Troika is something they're interested in or not.
Just to say that the writer of Troika has done his best to address it. It was an oversight because the words we use in British language may be used with different connotations elsewhere on the planet. It's basically that. So,
okay,
he just kind of went, well, I had no idea that was going to be offensive to someone because that's not how we use that word. Okay, I'll fix it. Years after the game's come out. Anyway.
Okay, so Troika, for those that don't know, is this book. This is the Numinous edition, which is very, very nice and pretty. It's that's the back. It's got like a big god thing on it. It's a rules light OSR-ish science fantasy RPG. Yeah, I mean, it's I think one of the things that I like about it most is that it builds its world through descriptions of character classes and monsters. It doesn't say to you, this is the world, and then take 50 pages to describe it and all the different factions and things like that. It infers the world through the character classes that it presents and the monsters that it presents, so that you can fill those gaps in yourself. So it's got that very kind of like OSR mindset to it. So that's the base game. It's quite simple to play. The classes within it are just full of really kind of interesting things that kind of they raise more questions than they answer, so that when you roll your character, a lot of it is kind of randomly generated. You get a class, and then you can fill all those gaps out. So it's interesting, really good for one shots. You can play longer campaigns in it as well, and that's the base game. So Broken Luck, LUCK, Broken Luck is a game
right.
by someone called Ico, and the artist that does the art for it is by someone called whose handle is Perplexing Ruins. Now, in Knock issue 2, they had a section, just a one page called Fear the Faceless God, which is an encounter. And this game itself is kind of based, it's furthering that, really. So it's going to have some classes in it. It's just a zine, it's not a massive kind of campaign book or anything like that, but it's very much about kind of it's got some lovely spreads, some excellent artwork, and it's just kind of trying to generate ideas for games. The stretch goals on it are there's like an extra card that has nice artwork on it, an adventure pamphlet, and a one-page graphic novel. It's nothing that's going to completely blow you away, but it adds to the ambience of the whole product, and it's very reasonable, I think, in terms of the pledge levels.
Have a look. PDF for £5.
Mm-hmm.
Print PDF, that's really good. £11, €12, and then you get the print PDF and goodies. I mean, who doesn't love goodies?
Exactly.
Postcards, soundtrack.
Yeah.
And then 60 as the retail one by the looks of things. So yeah, all in £22. I think that's great. I love the artwork. I love the style.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy has said purple on black is a brave and illegible design choice. I think as long as you're not reading it in the dark, you'll probably be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would have said similar about Merc Boy before it released.
Yeah, and it's still quite illegible, actually, Merc Boy, but you kind of get over it by just skipping to the back page, right? Because that's where all the rules are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an art book,
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I think nowadays, especially, there's definitely this. When you look at, especially zines, you're looking for something that's like you said. You look at it for inspiration.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's not always exactly what the contents are. Sometimes you just want to look at it and go, "Wow!" Like a mover and shaker called the Faceless God. That sounds amazing. Like I'm going to include that in my game. So yeah. Broken luck.
Broken luck. Back it up. Should we change gears a little bit and talk about? We talked a little bit about this with Doug, but the campaign has now launched. I have real mixed feelings about this, and actually, I have a question for our viewers, because this is a game that's been put out. Let me just move that a little bit. It's been put out by Archon Studio. It's going to be very good. They've got a good history of creating very good board games. It looks like it's a bit of a, I mean, I could be wrong, but it looks like it's got a bit of a strategy thing going on based on how the map is laid out and stuff. Certainly doesn't feel like it's, well, I mean, you can see there, this is not an Ameritrash kind of kicks zombie side kind of game. Almost looks like it might be some, area control, tactics, strategy, that sort of thing. Now, what's really interesting, I'm just going to move this back up so you can see what we're talking about. There we go. What's really interesting about this whole franchise is that, first of all, this is not available to our friends in the US because it hasn't got a global license on it. And I actually think that's really kind of risky, that for whatever reason, they couldn't get the license from Mattel for global distribution. The second thing that's really interesting is this campaign, which launched a few days ago. It's got 11 days left on it, which takes us closer and closer to September. Now, in September, there is another company that makes board games, and they've got a game coming out in the Masters of the Universe franchise. That game is Clash for Eternia. What's interesting about that is that the company that's bringing that out, not Fields of Eternia, which is what we're looking at right now, but Clash for Eternia, is a small company called Call Mini or Not. And that kind of changes the landscape a little bit for me, because I think if I were to be backing a Masters of the Universe franchise game, for me, as someone who really liked Zombicide, someone that likes painting minis, etc., I would be more inclined personally to only buy one game, and I would probably go for the Call Mini or Not game. That said, obviously, it's a very different game. I can imagine the Call Mini or Not game. It might be area control. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at it. I'm the first person to admit that I have not done my research here. We'll look at it in a month when they actually give us more proper official details of the campaign itself. But I think it's a really interesting position to be in, considering that you can't even compete in the same territory. And I can imagine that Call Mini or Not might not be locked to just the US. And there's only so much Kickstarter funding you can get, even as a lover of the 1980s. The minis look great. I mean, He-Man. 150 euros all in to the UK, which is 130 quid or something like that. Lots of nice minis. It's a very short campaign. So yeah, we can see right here, look, we're 4 days in and there's only 11 days left. So it's a 2-week campaign. Oh, so we're told the Simon one is USA only. That's really interesting. So you can either have the, in my mind, less inviting strategy game, or whatever the Simon one is, I would probably be inclined to try and find a way to get it into the UK. Back, get a friend in the US to ship it over if I was really that wanting of the He-Man license. Thank you, Bodhi, for sharing that. What do you think?
I think what we have here is basically a variation of the same issue with the Star Trek license.
Yeah.
I've heard about it from somewhere that it's not only Mattel involved with the He-Man franchise.
Yeah.
Mattel owns the toys.
Yeah.
And the TV show, the original one, is another license holder. They were based on the toys, but if you do something with another likeness and things like that. So it could be things like this hampering the release to different markets.
Yeah. That was a whole complex thing around the actual, the cartoon itself and the toys. They originally didn't match up.
And the new cartoons that's been made afterwards and toys made afterwards as well.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek is in the same position. The Star Trek franchises, I think it's like 3 or 4 companies involved owning different parts of it. They are all Star Trek, but they are all different and they can't look alike or use the same things.
Yeah, it's a complex one. I personally won't be backing it. I'm sure it's going to be actually very good. Archon Studio do really nice things.
I got 2 thoughts on it. Like Phil, but not as analytical as Phil.
Hey, they're the only 2 thoughts I'm going to have for the rest of the week. So
you're done now. It's Friday. Last thought of the week.
Yeah, capital on fried.
Yeah. Yeah, mine are more personal from someone who would back it point of view. My first thought is from my inner younger Martin, who's probably wearing a jumper that was knitted by his granny in multicolours, and he sat there bashing his Castle Grayskull and characters against each other playing, and he's looking at this and he's going, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
But then there's my older, cynical self, who is looking at it and going, "That looks really nice, but my painting ability isn't up to scratch." And I really wish sometimes, and this is, I know you're big into painting minis, Phil, but
you have to understand. I'll come back to this, but you have to understand the rationale behind us painting minis. So I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah, I like painting minis. It's a relaxing thing for me. I am not good at it. Okay, I enjoy doing it I've seen some of yours, Phil. You're better than me. So, but yeah, I enjoy doing it because it's relaxing. But when I look at this and I look at properties like this, Star Wars, He-Man, TMNT, Hellboy, when they've had minis, I look at them and I go, I really wish that they just have a pre-painted option, because it is never going to look like that when I paint it. And I don't, when it's Games Workshop or when it's any of the other companies that produce ones that I don't have the same kind of nostalgic connection to, I don't care. I will paint those and I don't care that they look a bit rubbish. But when it's ones like this, I want them to look as good as it looks on that promotional artwork.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. And certainly there are manufacturers like Awakened Realms, where actually you can pay for your minis to come professionally painted. It's not cheap, but if you've got the money, that's something you can certainly do. Our approach to minis is actually really straightforward. When we started painting, we got Zombicide Black Plague, which we didn't intend on painting. And we got them and we thought, what if we just go out of our way to make it so that the minis look less bad than they would if we hadn't bothered?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the level that we aim for. So we started off with just grey plastic without any depth. Looks a bit shit. So what if we just tried to put a little bit of color on there? And in fact, one of my favorite things that I kind of wanted to stick with was when I first did zenithal priming, which I did for when we painted Mice and Mystics. And that's where you paint the whole mini black or a darker color. And then you just paint a gray or white from the top using an airbrush. And it mimics light. But what we found with doing the scenery from Folklore the Affliction and the minis from Mice and Mystics is that it makes them look almost like black and white film noir, which wasn't really appropriate for Mice and Mystics. But certainly if you're going to play something like Deadlands Noir and you wanted to use minis, that just black, gray, and then a bit of white from above, maybe a tiny bit of inking just to backfill in, where you've put a little bit too much in. That's enough. That's enough to actually bring a huge amount of depth to the table.
Yeah.
The problem I've got right now is I'm trying to paint. I've got some, you can just about see them here, some Infinity miniatures, because we're hoping to get Infinity the Skirmish game to the table in a couple of weekends, hopefully, but we'll see how it goes. Man, no matter how much you know deep down that it's difficult to paint white, it's really difficult to paint white.
And that's what I mean. Like, I look at this and I look at that She-Ra model and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen if I paint it. And then it becomes a grind to paint.
Yes, and that's what we had with Zombicide.
It becomes this chore, and that's not why I paint. I paint to have a little bit of time where I'm just doing something. I don't really care about how it turns out. It's the act of painting. But if I was painting something like this, I would be looking at that and I would be looking like, that is not She-Ra. That is not He-Man.
That is Steve dressed as She-Ra.
Yeah, Steve Man.
Steve Ra.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the power.
We are inclusive and diverse. So I just need to point out we're not trying to, denigrate that at all. But I don't think that that's the spirit that is intended for a She-Ra miniature.
No. Yeah, it's so that is it's a very personal kind of bugbear with these things, but for me,
I get it completely.
Having a tier where it's like it comes pre-painted would encourage me to back things like this. Otherwise, I will buy minis from something that I don't have any kind of nostalgic connection to, because I don't want to feel like I'm constantly messing it up.
Yeah, I completely empathize with you 100%. And 200 quid, let's face it, is a lot of money to have a whole load of minis that you're not wanting to look at because they're not painted, or you're not wanting to look at because they are painted, but you're the one that did them and they're not right. And you're completely right. We know exactly how He-Man and She-Ra and Orko and Man-at-Arms, etc., are supposed to look. And when you have that tiny little thing that you've just gotten wrong, and He-Man is kind of slightly cross-eyed, you're never going to let it go.
Wouldn't even be slightly. Wouldn't even be slightly. Would be completely boss-eyed.
Boss-eyedness is an amazing episode in IT Crowd. He says diverting completely. I get it. I get it completely. But if I were to paint some minis wrong, I think I'd rather paint the Cool Mini or Not minis wrong. Then they would be the or not of Cool Mini or Not.
Yeah.
So I mean, it looks great. If you like strategy games and you happen to love the He-Man franchise, Master of the Universe franchise, check it out. It's on GameFound. You're looking at a couple of £100 to get the whole thing, but you're on your own, along with how many 4,383 other at time of recording. Let's have a look at Black Hack. Now, a little disclaimer here in that although I know Peter is not the author, I do know Peter Regan, who's actually put out with Square Hex, has put out a lot of these Kickstarters. Really lovely guy. Played Dungeon Core Classics with him actually, and he is pushing this one out. It's done really well on Drive-Thru RPG. It's a reprint of the second edition of what is effectively a kind of OSRE game, old school Renaissance E game. I've had a look through the rule book previously, and it's great. And I've just, for some reason, never picked it up. I nearly picked it up at Games Expo, but instead I bought, if you can see it on the screen, which you can't, it's just off here, Master of Nyarlathotep, which will probably one day get opened, but for now hasn't been, for Call of Cthulhu. But the Black Hack is a really interesting, it's a role-playing system. And let's have a look and see what we get for our money. So for £2, you get to register your interest if you're a retailer. Booklets and reference cards for existing customers. Rulebook, Black Hack rulebook, £18. Now I've had a look at this, as I said before, and it's actually, there's so much detail. The system is complete. It's not huge. It's pretty simple. What I love about it in principle, as I've not played this, is that it's player facing, and I am a big fan. A big fan, as everyone knows, because I always talk about Simbrim, and one day maybe I should actually put something on the stream for it, of player facing games. I just think it enables, as a player, I think it enables the player to really engage more in what they're doing, because you are having to think about in combat specifically, you're having to think about what you're doing when you're attacking, and also how you're defending, because you fail a defense roll, you get hit, but it very much feels like it's you that's doing that. You haven't successfully defended. It's not that you're told that someone has hit you and taken, and you've taken damage as a result. It puts the onus on you as a player to successfully, or as a player character to successfully dodge a arrow, or evade an axe coming over your head. And I don't know, it just feels very different as a player when you're in that situation. So it's a player facing game. There's lots of information about the actual, like the weapons and how that all goes, and it's a very different system to, I think, some of the other OSR games that I've seen. Have either of you looked at Black Hack?
I tried looking at the Kickstarter, and to be honest, what you just told me is more about the game than what the Kickstarter page says, because I looked at it and I couldn't tell what it is.
Yeah, I can understand that. So let's just have a look again. So there's no video for it, and I think other than the sort of preamble here, which tells you the Black Hack was hugely successful, you're right. If you don't have a prior knowledge of what Black Hack is, it's quite hard to grasp. And actually, I don't think that's unique to this campaign. I think I remember the prior version of the second edition and thinking something similar. So it's almost like you need to be part of that oral tradition of being told what the Black Hack is, or seeing it's won awards and stuff. So you kind of need to almost kind of know that organically, as opposed to being able to just glean it from the information that's at least on this page. You probably have to jump into Google or have a look on YouTube to actually find out what it's all about.
I think
yes,
that
isn't the risk then that you lose a lot of potential people, buyers, whatever, when you have a Kickstarter for a product that a person goes to, they look at it, and after they looked at this page, they're like, what is it?
Yeah,
I'm not going to pay.
I mean, I think that the still that you had up there, Phil, of the page right near the top where it says story, and it's got that big graphic, Drive-Thru RPG, best mithril seller. That is where your marketing is already. They know they've got a PDF base of people that have bought this, every single one of those people will receive an email from DriveThruRPG saying, we are running a Kickstarter that is for the box set. They already know where their base is, and I don't think they're looking to spend a lot of money on marketing this. You know, because they've already sold out of their original print run of the second edition, obviously, because they're doing this.
They had a handful left at Expo, and they've obviously all gone.
So they're, I think they saved 6 of the special super print versions that they had on the £100 tier for this one, which I was kind of looking at and I was umming and ahhing over when I did it, but I just went for the 40 level because that was the 100 level didn't quite have what I saw as £60 more worth to it.
You get a guitar pick, some dice, mug.
And people don't want to hear me play guitar. So
all those in favour of hearing Martin play guitar.
No. Yoel's hand is not going up. So
let us know in the comments if you want Martin to do an impromptu performance.
No. But
if you don't like and subscribe and share this, then we're going to get Martin to play guitar.
It's a threat now. It's when you've got something like a best mithril seller, they've already sold a lot of PDFs. They know who's coming in for this, and if they manage to kind of scoop up some extra people through word of mouth, all well and good. But I mean, if you look at they've already hit their funding goal. They've got 198 backers. It's got it on in Swedish here. So they've got £7,144 of a 5,000 goal. Okay, so they've already got nearly their goal and half again.
It'll keep going.
And they've got 8 days to go. I mean, really, I think they're just looking to fulfill this.
And they'll do very well. Black Hackers won awards, supremely popular. There are some videos out there on YouTube that really go into detail about what the system is, what you can see in the book. I love the layout of the book from what I've seen. It's very cleverly done. It is a shame that there's not more information about that in the campaign. I think you're completely right, Yoel, that there is not a lot of information here. New booklets, what you get in terms of what's in the box, but you don't really get to see what's in the box. You're right. I can't really argue with that. But I think also, as Martin has said, the kind of pitching to a captive audience and that kind of changes the landscape a bit. It's like I saw there was a video of someone criticizing Kinless that we were talking about, the Viking Merkborg adventure, and they clearly didn't understand the product. And they were saying something very similar. I don't know what this Morkborg is. I think it's a role-playing game, but I don't really know. And it's kind of a case of, you're right, maybe they could flesh out a little bit more. And I think, they've addressed a lot of those things in the FAQ on that campaign. But also they know, those of us who love Merkborg, we already know what that is. The moment we see that, we go, okay, it's a kind of OSR, deadly, pulpy, fun, Vikings, heavy metal, bring it on, or whatever. Same with this, as you said, people who know what the Black Hack is because they've got the PDF and they've just been waiting to spend money on Kickstarter on it. They've probably been waiting for a while, couldn't get to Games Expo, didn't want to pay shipping, wait for the new box set. And I'll tell you what, you do get quite a lot for 40 quid.
Oh yeah, definitely. It looks good. Like I said, I didn't see the value in that 60 quid extra. It didn't look like it to me. Martin. Yeah, okay. Or I saw in the chat, or a ukulele, kazoo, or a tuba. They're saying in the chat, and maybe I could do. But then I couldn't use, with a tuba, I couldn't use the guitar pick. So that's.
I'll find an inventive use for it for you.
If someone wants to send me 60 quid more, well, actually, no, all of those are gone now. when I looked at it, there was 5 of that level left, but
Yeah,
now they're all
yeah.
gone. So
I ummed and ahed about it as well, and I couldn't really convince myself to do it in the end.
I think there's something to be said as well for a game like this. It's very rare that a game like this would be someone's first RPG.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so for them to not kind of go into what the game is about, like, I understand what Yorl is saying, and I do agree to a certain degree, but it's very rare that someone would play a game like the Black Hack as their first RPG, or Merkborg. You know, that's kind of what you go to after you've
bought Avatar.
Oh, it's just going and going and going, isn't it? It's never going to stop.
Yeah.
Some of the comments on that Kickstarter are hilarious, though. People clearly don't understand what they're backing for sometimes.
I'm just having a quick look. We're not going to dwell on Avatar, but it is currently at £5,349,935, 29 pence. Oh no, 5,350,000. My apologies. So it's still going. So I
would like to say the difference between something like Avatar and Mausritter is that Avatar, they haven't yet, to my knowledge, had a stretch goal, which is we will pay our contributors a bigger percentage.
Yeah.
Whereas Mausritter has as its next stretch goal.
And I'm still very nervous of Magpie fulfilling it on time. More along the lines of I'm nervous that they've got such a short time scale, and I think they're going to miss it because most Kickstarters do. And I think you've got a social responsibility when you have that many new backers, people who haven't backed a Kickstarter before, haven't played an RPG before, to really manage those expectations now. They're a year late on their first Kickstarter, which was Root, and their second Kickstarter, and they've done things before, don't get me wrong, but under this brand, the second Kickstarter that they did was Urban Shadows, which is supposed to be hitting people's doorsteps next month, and they've only just opened the Pledge Manager. Now, I know we're in COVID times and coming out the other side of that. That's not my issue, really. My issue is that they clearly knew they were running late when they did Root, and they didn't pay that forward. And they're still saying that they can fulfill everything for Avatar with 4 months or something. It just doesn't ring true.
Is it like February or something that they're saying they're gonna? And even if so, they keep adding. They keep adding more stuff. They just added like another plastic token.
Great.
Which is more manufacturing.
It's a tile, but yeah, you're right. Which has to come from a different factory. Then you have to combine it all together. So because they're not going to drop ship it. Yeah. Anyway, Black Hack. I've backed it. I think it looks good. Yes, there's a little bit of conflict of interest in terms of me knowing it's a good product because I know Peter, who was running the campaign. Peter's done some great stuff in the past, great reputation. More importantly, the Black Hack has been around for ages. It's very popular. They've sold out. They've made more. They've sold out again. They did a second edition. Yeah, if you like that sort of thing with monsters and spells and sword and sorcery, check it out.
I don't know Peter, and I backed it, so there's the conflict out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust Martin. You can always trust Martin. Martin is your friend.
I am. Friend Martin. I'll even come round and play the guitar for you very badly.
Just making me think of Paranoia now.
Friend Martin is here to help you.
Oh, goodness me. We've got time for one last one, I think. And then, we've been over the 90-minute mark, so we should probably call it a day. So let's talk about one of UL's favorite franchises and talk about Delta Green. So I don't know actually how much UL knows about Delta Green, the product itself, but we're about to find out.
Not much. I haven't played it. I haven't read it. I've heard about it. So from what I know, Delta Green is basically a Cthulhu mythos in not now, but the 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
and combining that with a little bit of X-Files.
Yeah, my understanding of that is it's kind of X-Files, almost feels a bit like a contemporary Cold War kind of feeling. There's certainly a bit of military going on, and there's this idea of, I want to use the word cells, but I think there's a much better word, but my brain is fried because it's Friday, as we discussed earlier. And the idea being that there are pockets of people who are trying to survive, and those people are kind of like, well, everyone else is screwed, but we just need to do our thing and keep going. I think it's a really interesting project. This is a campaign. So Delta Green is 25 years old, and was originally, I think, a source book. So it didn't originally have a rule book as such. It was a source book for, or even a piece of fiction possibly, for Call of Cthulhu, which then exploded into these other things, of which the conspiracy was one of them. Now, in terms of what you get, it's quite an interesting one. So you get a quick start rule book. You can get the is that from, that's Bundle of Holding? Yes, we'll talk about that in a second. Lots of different things there, but the actual campaign itself is interesting in the way they've done it. So you basically, you can get the core book for $40, 30 quid. All the digital rewards, all the PDFs for £73, $100. And then, skipping the retailer pledge, you get the $300 pledge, and there's a huge, great big jump. And it looks like what they're actually doing is they're allowing you to kind of bank the funds that you're throwing into the pledge manager, which I think they're using BackerKit, which I hate, but I'll come back to why in a bit. And then you can call that off. You can call that in against the add-ons, which are going to be all the stretch goals. So as the campaign progresses, they're adding more and more stretch goals, as is normal. But those stretch goals represent a monetary value. And then you can basically take that out of your $300 of credit. That's my understanding of how it works. I'm just double checking. If works funded by this project add up to less than, yes. So basically, if you end up with more than $300 worth, then they'll give you, then you just get everything. If you get less, so I'm a little bit wrong here. If you get less than $300 worth of product, or an extra $200 of product, then they will give you the credits, which you can apply to other products from the company Arc Dream. So I'm a little bit off there, my apologies. But effectively, they're giving you that $300. They're giving you the difference as credit so you can buy on other things. But the value of those those products is available in BackerKit as well. So you can kind of follow along. So it's a bit of a weird gamble, because if they don't actually hit a stretch goals enough to generate $300 worth of product, then would it not be in your best interest as a backer, if you don't want any other Arc Dream products, to just only back at the $100 level, and then when you hit BackerKit, just manually add the extra bits that you want? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I fully understand what you mean. I think this is once again the case of you pay it because you want them to make it.
Yeah, I did that with Simple, to be honest with
you. Yeah, you're not pledging money to do the best financial decision, because, as you know, most core books is cheaper afterwards.
Yes, absolutely.
But you pay to get the bloody core book done.
Yes, 100%. And that's where I've become a lot more shrewd in my older age, and that really, unless there's something that is Kickstarter exclusive, and that's the FOMO, the fear of missing out talking, then I'm less inclined to back it unless I think it's going to be difficult to find, or I know I'm going to forget. So Ruins of Cymberum, for example, is one that I spent far too much on, because I got the collector's edition, because I know how hard those collector's editions are to find from Free League afterwards. Whereas some other Free League things, as much as I love Free League, I haven't backed, because in a sale in 6 months' time, it will be 20% off. So you have to be kind of careful about, if you're really worried more about saving money than getting the product quickly, thinking twice about it, and understanding, which of these things are actually just going to be at retail and on sale in a year. And if you're not going to have time to play it before then or read it before then it might not be worthwhile. But I just think it's a really interesting position to be in, where you could back it at the $300 level and actually only end up with $150 extra worth of Delta Green stuff. And is it something that you would want to do? The other side of that, though, is back a kit, which I hate with a passion. So as a pledge manager, back a kit is one where you add on the add-ons at the end. When it goes, when the campaign is funded, you add on all the things that you want. You give them your credit card details, your debit card details, and then you wait and wait and wait. And at some point, a couple of months down the line, maybe more, they'll send you an email saying, "Oh, we're going to close the pledge manager soon, and after that, we'll charge your card." And then you wait, and then at some point, when you're least expecting it, probably when a very large bill has gone out, they'll take all your money, because at some point you decided, well, I definitely need that set of dice and that, that dice tray and the stickers and the t-shirt and the limited edition version of the collector's edition of the book that I already have 2 of, Shadows of Estrin. I'm looking at you. It's, it just bugs me, because with the other pledge managers, GameFound and Pledge Manager, you make that decision, and it, you pay for it there and then. You can get a refund if you really need to, or you can change what's in your basket and, swap things around if you change your mind. But you don't have to worry about budgeting.
And every time I've had to contact BackerKit because there's been some problem, I've had a nightmare with their customer service.
Yep.
Absolute nightmare. I've always had to end up going through, because what I imagine is people use BackerKit to take the burden off themselves when they're running a Kickstarter, so that they can say BackerKit are handling everything, and then their customer service can deal with it. But then whenever I contact BackerKit, they never seem to be able to actually solve my problem. So I end up having to contact the person who's running the Kickstarter anyway.
Yeah.
And they have to contact BackerKit to sort the problem out. That happened with Rowan Rook and Deckard. BackerKit were just not helpful at all. Contacted Mary at Rowan Rook and Deckard, and they were amazing.
Yeah.
Just sorted it out straight away, went into the back end, sorted everything out. I mean...
But it's not clear that that's the path you're supposed to take, if that makes sense.
No. And just say, like with BackerKit, if there's a problem with BackerKit, contact our customer service. Yeah. I have done many times. They have never once solved the problem.
Did you try threatening them with music?
No, but
that's where you're going wrong, my friend.
I didn't have any ability to play. I need to get myself.
Well, I don't think that's changed.
No, I mean, yes, I didn't have any ability. I didn't have any way to threaten them. I didn't have a guitar to hand. So,
I see.
Or a pick. So.
No, absolutely. So anyway, Delta Green. In the chat, we have, I think I showed this already, Delta Green is amazing. I have the original books on the 90s, and the new version, definitely getting the 3 hardback books. I've not played it, but I hear great things about it. I think if you're into the concept of the game, which as we said is kind of conspiracy and kind of slightly X-Filesy, it is probably very amazing. Welcome to America at the end of the millennium. Do you know who is pulling the strings? It's one of the taglines there. I can't say I'll be backing it, but it's very popular. I would rather buy that than Avatar.
Dennis Detwiller's art is amazing as well.
Yes, that's a really good point as well. If you're into art books, you can't really go wrong. Yeah,
very much so.
Well, let us know in the comments, who is your favorite RPG artist? That's what I'd like to know as well. I know who mine is. We've spoken about him before. I've got a couple actually, but my current favorite is still Bastien Lecouf d'Armes of Cult and Gods fame. Joel in the comments says Niels Gulliksson. I think we're going to have to talk a little bit about Niels Gulliksson in a future episode. I think they've got quite a lot to say. Martin, do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh, there's so many. I mean, it really depends what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah, same here, to be fair. I mean, Martin Grip as well, and Gustav Ekelund. These are both artists for Symbaroum. We could say loads of them. I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I maybe save it for another episode, and I'll come back and talk about artists with my guitar.
We should do that. Artists in your guitar.
Artists with my guitar. I'll do a musical.
So are we going to ship your guitar around the world and get people?
I don't have a guitar.
We're going to get people to take photographs of artists with Martin's fictional guitar.
If you want to buy me a guitar and pay for the postage, we can do that.
And then keep the guitar. I'll pay for the postage, but I'll keep the guitar.
Yeah.
Yoel looks like his brain is churning.
Now, she's looking through a really old product, but with some image people might recognize.
Oh yes, that's Niels Gulliksson, and then it was used in Forbidden Lands as well.
Yes, and this was the product that kind of kicked his career off.
I'm gonna let Joe. I know what this is. I'm gonna let Joel translate what that title is, because it's gonna blow your mind.
This basically is the Book of the Monsters, the Book of Beasts.
Book of Beasts.
So, Book of Beasts, as Doug would say it. So this is the Book of Beasts for Drakar and the Mourner, the first RPG in Sweden.
Bring it back up there.
And this is where Gulliksson got his big break. Almost all the images in it is by Niels Gulliksson. And those are the same images used for Forbidden Lands. And now we have the Kickstarter with a Book of Beasts for the Forbidden Lands. So a RPG game based on images in a Book of Beasts for another RPG is now getting its own Book of Beasts.
Yes. So great. I think
would we see a new Kickstarter in 30 years for Henrik Rosenberg's?
I think we should actually have an episode about artists, and it's something I have been thinking about before. So maybe we should give it a few weeks, maybe compile some of our favorite artists and favorite pieces of art, and just talk about them. RPG art, obviously.
We're all just going to come with the same ones.
Well, I think we can.
It's all going to be like Symbaroum.
I love Symbaroum art, but I don't think that's what I would be bringing.
Oh man, yeah, some of that art I love. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, completely. From the later books as well, and there are some pieces there that are just mind blowing. When we move house, I've got one of the Symbaroum art prints actually. This one. I have that in large poster format, so that's going to be going on my wall. That's been in a poster tube for like 2-3 years. So I keep buying frames and they keep arriving damaged. And for some reason, I'm just really stubborn and I keep ordering the same one. This has been going on every 4 months for about 3 years. And when I bought just one frame, it arrived perfectly, and I've got the cover from things from the flood in that. But when I try and order 3 altogether in one box, they seem to be completely incapable of delivering it undamaged.
Who's that? Amazon?
Oh. How'd you guess? So you don't have this problem. Do you? Is there now Amazon in Sweden? I know there wasn't.
There is an Amazon in Sweden now, Amazon.se, but it's I think a lot of their stuff is just on order from the other Amazons.
Yeah.
And auto-translated very, very badly.
Yeah. We don't have Hermes here, though. So
It's not
that is... Yeah, that is probably why our deliveries aren't quite as bad. Although, to be fair, some of the deliveries we get here are pretty bad. PostNord in Stockholm are pretty terrible, to be honest.
Yeah.
So.
And they've got quite a way to come out to you anyway, in the middle of nowhere. They're just
actually they're really nice here. I know my local. I know my local Brevbärare. She's lovely. I really get on with her. She's like, I got another package for you. I'm like, yes, you will do. Probably for the next few years.
They can see us coming. My friends, it has been an hour and 45 minutes. It is later for you by 1 hour than it is for me. It's been a really great show. I really appreciate it. Yeah, if you've enjoyed the show as viewers, first of all, thank you for joining us. But please do like and subscribe and comment and all those other buttons. We should probably give a shout out to some of the people who've been joining us live this evening. So thank you to Andy, thank you to Bruce, thank you to the other Bruce, thank you to Bowden 1932. Thank you to Neil. Good luck with the remainder of your campaign, Neil. Hopefully we'll see you very soon on the stream. Thank you to my good friends Joel and Martin. And
you're very welcome.
It's been great, and I no doubt we'll see both of you again very soon, hopefully with another actual play. In fact, that is going to happen. We have got penciled in for Mutant Untergångens Avtagade.
Getting better.
Thank you. He didn't laugh.
No. That one was pretty good. Good enough.
That was good enough. And it was live. I didn't record it and it'd still be terrible. So we're recording that very soon. I know we promised earlier that it was going to be a couple of weeks ago, but our GM is in the middle of nowhere in kind of rural Norway, and like about 20 meters from a really good internet connection, which is just ridiculous.
Frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. I really feel bad for him because I don't think I could survive on what is effectively dial-up that he has. So I don't know if we're going to have video from him, but that's coming very soon. Next couple of weeks, we should have that up on the stream. So if you want to see that, please subscribe. Otherwise, thank you once again, everyone. And as always, I hope your dice rolls are way better than mine. Take care.
Bye-bye.